Hi, Scott Orlin with CINEMA-Magazin. There's a terrific new docu-series coming your way called Unsung, and every week a different profile on a personality is going to be coming your way. One of those series is Morris Day. Some of you may remember him from the time. Terrific singer, entertainer. Morris, at the very beginning of the show, you're sitting behind your drums and you're hitting away with the sticks, and you talk about the word funky, that the music you created was funky. What is funky to you? How do you define it?
Well, funk is a feeling for me. It's and I'm sure that it probably goes across all genres of music, but for me, it's a feeling that somewhere comes between like an R&B and a rock and a pop fusion, maybe with a little jazz, but it's just a vibe that I get, and it's an approach to music in general, and it's an approach to lifestyle. Funk is my lifestyle, and cool, so it's a vibe.
Well, in this show, you talk about your musical influences. Obviously, James Brown, you mentioned the Supremes, and that somehow or another, that musical rhythm made you want to get behind the drums. That's how you could express your feeling. So talk a little bit about those musical influences and how it directed you.
Well, the influence for me was, James Brown was just the epitome of, and still is, of funk in its purest form. How they came up with some of those grooves that they did, to me, I just would have liked to have been a fly on the wall to know, because it's quite incredible. But the whole thing about Motown, the Supremes, the Four Tops, we got our first color TV back in 1963 or something, like 64. They were just coming out. We had that great big console, with a record player on one end, a radio on the other, and a little TV in the middle. But it was color, and I was watching American Bandstand, and I would see these bands, and it was just magical. It was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be inside that box performing, in living color, so that just kind of really brought it out for me. I ended up loving the drums, and I was beating on my mom's couch and pots and pans and tearing everything up. So she finally caved in and said, "Look, I'm going to get you a drum set so you quit tearing up everything." And it was that was the start of it all for me.
Obviously, Morris, you have tremendous musical talent, but how essential is attitude, style, swagger, dress for success?
It's everything. It's everything with the bag of chips. It's just, it's one of those things where, for me, I see artists, I see, in certain genres, they get to, or not get to, I'm not going to say get to, but they will sit and deliver a song. And, to me, just for me, that's not what it's about. And I dig the artistry, but I gotta bring my personality. I gotta bring all of what Morris Day is into the picture, which is the dance steps, the dressing, maybe a taste of comedy, season, add all them little seasonings together. And that's what I do. And I feel like it's super important for me.
Somebody who has been a music lover all my life, I've always been keen to cities like London, New York, Nashville, Detroit, Los Angeles, who have kind of been epicenters of different musical styles. But you guys made Minneapolis a musical stopping point. So how do you define the Minneapolis sound? Well,
I define it as it's sort of a lack of resources for us, because as a band, when I was in the band with Prince and Andre Simone and the other members, we didn't have a horn section. So we used keyboards to do the horn lines. And then, we just infused this. I mean, the radio stations were all pop. You had maybe one urban station or soul station, they called them back in the day, and it broadcasted to all of 3 blocks, a 3-block radius from sun up to sundown. And other than that, we listened to pop radio. So we infused the pop sound, and then we had the underground R&B funk sound, where we had to go to the mom and pop stores to get the James Brown, to get the Parliament Funkadelic records, and Cameo and all of that kind of stuff. And so, you know, we loved that, and we also listened to Jeff Lorber and all of these fusion groups, and you know, we just brought it all together, and we just somehow ended up with what's now known as the Minneapolis sound.
If you were to ask a lot of music connoisseurs and mention the names Grand Central or Flight Time, they might not know who these bands were.
Yeah.
But who came out of those, everybody knows and shaped that. So looking back, how essential were those two bands for you?
Those were, I mean, not only were they essential, those were two of the two best bands. I mean, and back in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a band on pretty much every block. So there was some fierce competition. Somehow, you know, these were the two best. Now, Flight Time, on the other hand, they had the horn section. They had it all. And so, you know, but we always ended up going head to head with them. And we were both revered as two of the best bands. The difference being, you know, Grand Central was always the one mentioned, like in the newspaper and publications, as most likely to succeed, because I guess we had somewhat of a star quality. But those were two great bands, and you know, it was just undeniable.
I had the distinct pleasure twice of encountering Prince. He doesn't say much. He was very quiet at the time. But you had an interaction where you had the highs, the lows. You experienced the spectrum of this musical genius. Now looking back, being reflective, what was his interaction in your life? Would you be the same person you are today had you not been around Prince?
Absolutely not. He was integral. You know, he helped me really find myself musically and as a performer. He was just one of those kind of people. He laughed at my jokes. We laughed at each other's jokes. He was quite the comedian, you know, when he decided to be. And he was always like, you know, we got to put that in the song. We got to, you know, we got to bring that out. We got to do this. We got to do that. So he had the insight to take the personality, my personality, or anyone's for that matter, I guess, that he worked with, and put it into their music. I guess my personality was just a little different, and that worked for me. But, you know, he's very integral in who I am as an artist today.
One of the things that was really insightful about watching this documentary was how candid you were about all aspects of your life. That, you know, we all kind of want to show our best parts, and you realize that you are the sum of all of them. How important do you think your candid is as the lessons that you're telling are to young musicians starting out? Because they want success, they want fame, but they don't understand all the trappings that come with it.
Yeah, it's very serious. You can, you know, when especially as a young person, and everything is coming at you at the speed of light, you know, you can get lost in it. And you just have to try to somehow keep your wits about yourself. You have to realize that at the end of the day, it's real life. And that's what this is all about. You know, a lot of people see entertainers, celebrities, if you will, and, you know, they're like, they don't realize there's a real person, a real life, and it looks so glamorous and so perfect. But behind it, you know, there's a real life, you know, that if you don't treat it right, you know, it will bring you down. So, you know, that's, you know, that's all that my advice is. Just, you know, try to be real, try to keep your feet on the ground, try and realize, you know, you're still a human, you trip, fall, you know, and just like anybody else. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Oh, you know, I'm going to kind of tie in something really quick to you. Hopefully you'll see I'm being clever. Okay. As with a book, yeah, there's always new chapters. And yeah, like our lives, in a way, that we have new chapters to our lives. And part of your new chapter is you wrote a book. Yeah. So talk a little bit about how cathartic that experience was for you. How much did you enjoy? How creative was that process?
Okay, well, let's start like this. You know, let's just flash it, you know. Doing the book was healing for me. We started back in, I want to say 2017. David Ritz, and he co-wrote it. Great author, and he's just the best when it comes to these music, memoirs. And he started hitting me up, and we started going down these corridors and these alleys that I hadn't been down in a long time. And we touched on subjects that every now and then they haunt me, out of nowhere, but, we straight up brought them up and discussed them. And, it was healing and it was painful, but it was great, at the end of the day.
And not only do you have this new book, but there's a new album that you did with collaboration with Snoop Dogg. How much do different musicians inspire you? Do you think that you brought out something different by working with him?
Absolutely. Snoop was just super gracious. This is a guy whose career is just on fire. So just for him to take the time to really want to work with me and spend the time to put together the project that we did was really amazing. I walked into his studio and he had his wall of fame, all the people that he admires the most in the industry, and my picture was up there. So I was right away flattered. And, on from there. And he just, man, he'd be in the studio dancing and just loving everything, we coming up with these grooves and stuff. And it was an awesome experience.
We've talked about you as a musician. We've talked about you as an author. But now let's talk about Morris Day, the actor. What was that experience like making Purple Rain? Did you feel comfortable in front of the camera?
It took a minute, it took a minute. And, the thing that worked for me in Purple Rain was Al Magnolia and Prince and all the powers that be back then. They took the script, they brought it to me and Jerome and sat us down in a room and said, here's what's written. What would you say? And so, that right away made it mine. Because, in Hollywood, a lot of these writers and directors are so hardcore about the way the script is written. And if you say anything or try to change anything, it's a problem. And, I don't know if that serves actors well or not, but in that instance, that the fact that I was able to make the script mine served me very well.
And as prestigious as your music is, what your legacy, I think your children are probably going to be more important to you than anything else. How powerful is it to see them following in your footsteps or to carry on some of who you are?
Well, it's pretty amazing. A lot of people say to me, are you sure, you would want your kids to be in the music business? And my answer to that question is if they want to be, absolutely, I'm sure that they should be. If they don't want to be, then absolutely, I support that. It just so happens that a couple of them really love music, and I support it. And I say, yes, it's a tough business, but, I'm here to say maybe I can help you get past some of the lower parts of the business and get past some of the negative parts of the business and help focus on the positive. And if anything, I feel like I can do that.
The title of the series, as I first mentioned, is called Unsung. And part of the definition of unsung are people who don't get the recognition they truly deserve. Did you feel neglected in some way on your journey, that maybe as impactful as your career was, you were a little bit unsung?
It was designed that way, to be honest. And don't get me wrong, anybody listening, Prince is my brother, but he definitely had his thumb on me and my band. He controlled the fact that we never really left the States. We had an audience blooming overseas, and we were never allowed to tap into that. And, he was very, very controlling. So I guess, if you want to look at it in that light, yeah, there's some unsungness here.
And what I love too about, because your whole essence is your tongue-in-cheek attitude and the whole thing with the mirror. What is your relationship to the mirror today?
Well, sometimes I miss myself, you know, and the best way to get reacquainted is to jump in the mirror and say, hey, you looking nice, my man. You looking good. You looking cool. You dapper. You know, the mirror is my friend.
Still the bird? Can you still bird it?
Oh, man. Yeah. I'm serving up the bird supersized with the fries, man. We still doing it.
And just a last quick question for you, too. I'm always fascinated how music sometimes really becomes iconic in a sense. It goes into the zeitgeist. And you did the song 777-9311 that literally people started calling that number. It was almost like the 967 Jenny, I think that was the other song that did that too.
Yeah.
How cool is it to know that all of a sudden it takes on a life beyond the song?
No, it's very cool. As a matter of fact, we did an Instagram post the other day that said just how many of y'all back in the day actually dialed the number 777-9311, and so many. I mean, we got so many, you know, you get the likes, but we got so many comments that, you know, it's just really cool. And you don't think about that because the phone number was actually Prince's guitarist Des Dickerson's phone number. Of course, he had to change his number because he started getting calls out of control. But it's just overall cool to know that, you know, you're having an impact on people.
Well, thank you for at least giving me this few moments to make myself COOL. Did I do it right?
You got it, man.
First day, the series is called Unsung, and this is Scott. Till next time.
Appreciate you, Scott.